We have a 2008 Chevy Silverado. We're going to go through the steps in order to replace the fuel pump. Before doing any repair to the fuel system, be sure and bleed the pressure off the system. We'll do this by using our pressure relief valve on our gauge. Be sure and capture any fuel into a safe container. Always disconnect the negative battery cable before doing any repairs. In order to do a proper fuel pump replacement, we need to clean the inside of the tank, and that will require the removal of the tank. With the fuel filler removed from the body, disconnect the fuel filler hose and vent hose. Remove the 3 bolts on the driver's side, holding the tank shield in place. At the front of the tank, disconnect the fuel line. There may be some residual fuel. Be sure and capture this into a safe container. And the emissions line attached to the carbon canister. Because of its condition, I will be required to use a small screwdriver to work it off carefully. With the tank properly supported, remove the tank straps. With the tank in this position, disconnect the electrical connections. Keep in mind there is a safety retainer on the larger connection. With the buildup of dirt and debris, these can be difficult to release. You will have to work the fuel filler and vent hose over the top of the frame as you lower the tank. Be sure and clean the outside of the tank before removing the module assembly. This will keep any unwanted debris from entering the tank. Before removing the module assembly from the tank, disconnect the 2 emissions lines and the fuel line. To remove the fuel line, you'll need a fuel line release tool. These are available at most local parts stores. You can use a light spray lubricant to help in releasing the fuel line. Using our non-ferrous brass punch, we'll turn the locking ring counterclockwise to remove the module assembly. You'll need to inspect the locking ring to make sure it's not damaged in any way that would hinder the reinstallation. With the tank ring removed, now we're ready to remove the module from the tank. Be sure and capture any fuel that is in the module assembly into a safe container. At this point, we need to drain the remaining fuel into a safe container and then clean the inside of the tank. We want to be sure that the tank is as clean as possible to allow a clean environment for the fuel pump. With the inside of the tank thoroughly cleaned, we're ready to install the new Airtex module assembly. General Motors used several different variations of their fuel pump in our 2004 to 2008 Chevy Silverados. These variations will not affect the installation procedures of the fuel pump. One of the biggest variations you may see is the electrical connection. You may have a unit that has 2 or 1. To make sure that you get the correct pump for your application, you can visit fuelpumpu.com. Before installing the module into the tank, we'll position the seal into location. You'll note that there's a locating tab on the top of the fuel pump. This will set between 2 of the retaining clips on the tank. With the fuel pump module in place, now we'll take our non-ferrous brass punch and turn the locking ring clockwise. You want to be sure and fully rotate the locking ring until it locks into position. Connect the fuel line and the 2 emissions lines. As you raise the tank into position, be sure and work the fuel filler and vent hose over the top of the frame. With the tank partially raised into position, reconnect the electrical connections, making sure to install the safety retainer tab. Fully raise the tank into position and install the tank straps. At the front of the tank, reconnect the fuel line and the emissions line. Install the tank shield. Reattach the fuel filler and vent hose to the fuel filler. Reinstall the filler tube into the body. With the repair complete, we'll reattach the negative battery cable. Cycle the key 2 to 3 times in order to charge the system. We'll start the vehicle and monitor the fuel pressure, making sure it's within vehicle specifications. Now before we remove our pressure gauge, we'll shut the vehicle off and bleed the pressure using our pressure gauge, making sure to capture any fuel into a safe container.